Hey my Suga Bears, welcome back to my channel, Bougie AF. It's your host, Nicole. It's where I say stay bougie on them. It's me feeding you feminism for the soul. It's my soul food offering. It's where I apply pressure to issues by being critical and logical. Now don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Now let's get to the commentary where I can guarantee you I will be doing too much because that's just me. And like Sheree said, who's gonna check me, boo? Hey, what's up? So we're back. We're going to call this Women Misbehaving segment, where I just talk about badass women from the past to the present to the current, all of that. Just like women who just stand out, who are in their fields, respectfully doing their thing, and just misbehaving, just stepping away from the status quo of what is defined as a feminine woman. Yes, I jokingly laugh at that because I just never think that's never been the black woman's story in America. So when I run across women who can kind of help me push back that weird narrative, I like to highlight them. And so most definitely, so the page, I'm sorry, the channel is Feminism for the Soul. So I like to feed you great women who are doing things, right? Because I think feminism kind of gets a bad rep. I think it's and I think it gets a bad rep from the uninformed. Because it's been around since probably like the 1896, and I'm going to bring up an article that kind of outlines that, but I think it's all about how you look at things, and I look at things kind of sometimes in the abstract. And so when we're talking about women and behavior and things that people kind of in their behavior and how they show up in history, right? Because it's always the women who show up, right? Because we're not talking about, in history does not capture women who don't show up. And a lot of times with women who show up, they are outside of what I think some may consider norm or feminine women, right? I don't see many like feminine women, if you want to say, and I hate even saying that word because I think these women are still feminine, right? So I haven't seen any women who are of the docile nature make history, right? And so I think it's important to talk about women and showcase that, and like I said, push back that feminism narrative that I think a lot of black people will try to demonize because of whatever they feel like they've been told about the feminist movement in the 60s and 70s. And so a lot of times I see a lot of division being created. Oh, you were part of that white women's movement and all that other stuff. And it's just like, it's hard. I don't engage too much in those conversations. And if I want to take time and have the patience to kind of break it down, then I will. But it's just hey y'all, so I already recorded and finished this video, but there was a piece that I left out. I did make mention that I wanted to kind of provide some context and some history to black women being feminists before the 1960s and 1970s. That goes all the way back to 1893 for this article. So I found this at National Communications Association. So this is Black Women's Historical Speeches Asserting Self-Determination and Challenging Racist Narratives. And this was just published or came out on June 2nd, 2021. So basically, this was in 1893, and this was the World Congress of Representatives Women, WCRW, occurred concurrently with the World Columbian Exposition. We see convention nowadays. So although the WCRW was meant to portray women's advances broadly, only a handful of black women were invited to speak. In a new article published in the NCA's Quarterly Journal of Speech, Sarah C. von der Hagen argues that these speakers situated emancipation as the beginning of black women's progress in the United States. I mean, that's important that we say that again. She's arguing that these speakers are situated in situated emancipation as the beginning of black women's progress. It seems very feministic there. That line seems very feminist, early beginnings. But anyway, in the United States, furthermore, they emphasized that black women's progress must be understood in relation to slavery and that they were their agents of change. We know we've always heard somebody in our neighborhoods talking about be the agent of change that you want to see. Van der Hagen shows how contemporary black feminists thought can help us better understand these women's speeches. So there are 6 women. Fannie B. Williams. Also, I did forget to say this. I actually made a longer review of this video and of this article and another article. What is it called? this one. I went over this one in the longer video that I'm gonna also post, and I'll put a link at the bottom of this video. But yes, does feminism hurt black families? And this was published in 1985, February 10th. So I also went over this. So in the longer video that I did about this one includes me giving commentary and reading that one. All right. So Fannie B. Williams, born in New York. She was married. Oh my God, a feminist married? A feminist taking dick? Oh my God, here we go. She was a well-recognized speaker. And then there's Anna J. Cooper, an educator and published essayist. Cooper was born into slavery and later graduated from Oberlin College. Okay, so we even have somebody who was a former slave, was a feminist. Oh my gosh. Then there's Fannie J. Copen. After her aunt purchased her freedom, Copen's freedom, Copen graduated from Oberlin College and went on to work as a teacher, missionary, and African Methodist Episcopal church leader. All right. I said this earlier in my other video. There's a lot of black educated, or like early history of black people after the Civil War and the emancipation and all that. A lot of early educated black people came out of Ohio. I don't know. I feel like I'm always hearing about Wilberforce, and I'm always hearing about Oberlin. Sarah J.W. Early, born to free parents. Early was a teacher, a temperance lecturer. Haley Q. Brown, born into a free family. Brown was a graduate of Wilberforce University, an educator and a charismatic public speaker. And then there's Frances E.W. Harper, the most well-known of the speakers. Harper was born into a free family and was active in the abolition, women's suffrage, and temperance movement. So Vanderhagen examines these women's speeches, both as individual speech acts and as a broader collective conversation among the speakers that illuminates black women's activism during this period. We were outside. Can you believe this? Black women were outside early. Black women activism during this period. Vanderhagen argues that this is consistent with black feminist thoughts, emphasis on the communal features of the black women's resistance. We have been resisting and fighting the man from the very beginning. We've been outside. Let me see. This time I'm only gonna read one. They did a lot of comparing at this time in 1893, black women was actually more further along from accounts of this article, advanced in terms of getting education and kind of looking towards progress and betterment of self, right? For us, it's like we have to fix and better ourselves for our community, because at the end of the day, we were still probably receiving pennies. So there was just no point in time like we could stay home. I mean, I know that's what people are trying to sell you in terms of black women in early 1900s, but somebody had to make the beds and somebody had to cook the food still. So people were hired, okay? So women especially black women, have been doing domesticated type of work throughout history. So that's why it's like, have we been just sitting at home? That's why it's really important to pay attention to the contextual movies and stuff you see that, because when you see us in the kitchens. And I'm just talking about in terms of movies. I'm talking about in terms of our place in society when we are watching things, right? So no, there was never a time we were just at home. I wanted to read this. While Copen compared black women favorably with white women, Early used statistics to describe how black women had organized themselves between 1865 and 1893, and argued that the organized efforts of black women have contributed to the elevation of the race and their marvelous advancements in a short of time. I had to go do that again. I ran through that too fast. Y'all didn't hear me, okay? Let me clear my throat. Early used statistics to describe how black women had organized themselves between 1865 and 1893, and argued that the organized efforts of black women have contributed to the elevation. We talking elevation. Contribute to the elevation of the race and their marvelous advancements in a in so short of time. Looking at the progress made in only 28. I need to play that number, y'all. I need to play that. It needs to be one of my numbers. Made in only 28 years. Early foretold even more progress to be made in the coming years. I mean, that's all I'm going to give y'all on this one. Basically, also, I wanted to point out this conference that they were at was actually celebrating the, where does it say it? Okay, so it says it right here. This conference was attended by 150,000 people and honored the quadricentennial of Christopher Columbus' arrival in the Americas. There were more than 500 speakers, but only 6 were black. Okay, so this is also something that was interesting. I'm sorry, I kind of skipped around, but it still it makes sense. Werner Hagen argues that Copen speaks position emancipation as a turning point and challenged white women on the progress they had made by comparing it with the progress black women had made. For if we black women have been able to accomplish anything in what are considered the higher standards, or if we have been able to achieve anything by heroic living and thinking, all the more can you white women achieve it. Yeah. Basically, black women was on their shit and they was about their shit and they was trying to handle their shit very early on. But basically these they hadn't seen Columbus as a hero, so this was celebrating him. And basically, they just weren't where we are at when in terms of who Columbus is and what actually colonialism actually did to the world. And some depending on who you are, you're gonna say it did great, or you appreciate what happened to be where we are right now, or you can be on the other end and saying, fuck Christopher Columbus, that colonizing ass, that slave owner. You know what I mean? You're gonna think that way about him. He didn't own nothing. He didn't find nothing. He didn't find anything. It was already here. You stole people's land. But basically, that's the other educational part about that. But yeah, I wanted to add that in. Like I said, I missed that this last in completing this video. I'm out. Continue to the video. It's a deeper, longer conversation than just like, no, you're wrong. It didn't start with Gloria Steinem and oh my God, I just wrote her name the other day. But Gloria Steinem, the black lady with her fist, it didn't start there, right? But if you don't know that, then you would have those as your talking points, and they're white talking points, to be completely honest, because it was what our society is based around, white supremacy, and specifically white men supremacy, right? So with that being said, feminism was something that they feared at the time in the 60s and 70s in terms of women gaining more of an independence of themselves, right? So they demonized it. And so when in 2021, when I hear a lot of black men kind of pick up those talking points, I just be like, trash. I do. But let's get to why we're here. We're here for the great civil rights leader, Gloria Richardson, who died at 99 years old. So let me pull this up. Out of them people's Baltimore. And the great thing about Gloria Richardson, and what I'll try to do with a lot of women that I try to highlight, is that I love starting off. It says here, Richardson, who organized and led desegregation efforts in Maryland with more militancy than many of her peers, passed away Thursday. And that's an important fact, or important to think about, because a lot of times women get labeled as being too emotional, or not being wouldn't be able to do exactly what you see in front on my screen. Stand up to a man with a gun in her face, right? And so I hear that critique a lot of times, and a lot of men say that. And I just think emotions, I think they show up differently in people. Women, we're talking about like our relationships and probably, the people in our lives. I can see how we could be more emotional in that way, but I don't think that translates over to like how we are in business or how we are in leadership roles. And I just think we have more great examples of women succeeding in leadership roles to kind of refute that, right? If I sit back and I look, and I also have something I want to bring up because this is really important. Where is it at? This is really important because it's all about how you look at things, right? I think a lot of times people get so offended, but it's all in how you look at things and how you picture people and what you see when you look at people, right? So I have a slideshow I have up of some dope, great women, right? And for me, it's like, oh, For me, it's like there's a story behind each of these women, right? But what I do know is that these women have made history, right? And they've behaved in a way that is that we don't consider to be the norm, right? And they've made it better for other people, right? So I always feel like when I get told that, you're not behaving like a lady, that's not what a woman does, and all this other stuff, I just win in history, even all the way back to Harriet Tubman. Like, when in history have we been behaving? So that's why this segment is women misbehaving, because we started this shit misbehaving, and we're gonna finish this shit misbehaving, because that is essentially how we have been changing the world. Not sitting back and just letting somebody lead us, and that has nothing to do with the relationships part of it. And I think again, because there's been different feminist movements, and for the feminist movement targeting or started or was in the 60s and 70s, yes, it was a relationship based feminist movement in terms of how women were being treated at home and how they were being treated at work and all this other stuff, and really getting some laws on the book that protect us. All right, I think a lot of times when I hear people give these opinions about feminism and all this other stuff, there's this lack of acknowledgement of domestic violence, and there's a lack of acknowledgement of workplace harassment. There's those lack of acknowledgement. There's a lack of acknowledgement of being a woman while on a train, being a woman while going to the liquor store in New York and not getting bust upside your head for saying no to a man. There's a lack of that understanding a lot of times when men try to talk about that feminist movement. There needed to be an acknowledgement of what women were going through, and for men to feel like they would be at a further along if it wasn't for that movement. That's a scary thought, seeing what we see in 2021 in terms of domestic violence and some of those same things that I listed. It's asinine, and it really doesn't make any sense. I guess y'all got me today. I guess I'm talking. I guess y'all got me today, because I'm on one. Because usually, I use these videos to talk. I'm not so much doing this in real life. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I have a panel or something like that and we're talking, I'll talk. But I'm not someone who feels the need to kind of, I'm a feminist and this is why. And I kind of resent it and I hate doing it, right? So what I'll do, even in the channel, this will not be something that won't come up out of purpose, right? Because I just don't feel like it's something that I have to wear on my sleeves. I think, why should I, right? Why do I have to announce that? And why is it something that has to be announced? Why do you have to be made aware of that? I am really into protecting me, and that I am not going to let you disrespect me. And I'm going to stand on me. I'm going to stand up for me. Why do I need to announce that? And why would that not just even be the case without me announcing that? I'm serious about me. Right? And so there that comes that, baby and coddling of men when we're talking about self-respect, and that conversation of, a man is going to be a man, getting away from that. So you can't be a man if I tell you that, oh no, I don't like that. Okay. But again, like I said, there's a story behind each of these women in this slideshow. And one day, I'll pick one to kind of go into, and kind of give you a little story of why I picked them. And I kept it current too. And I went really far back. That's Liz Cambage, I think it is. I think she plays for Las Vegas. And I call her Liz Dope. And you can go look up her story. I may pull it up one day. And I threw in our favorite Rachel Dolezal. Only purely as a joke to fuck with people, because I know if you see my last video, then you know why. Only as a joke, but it is what it is. If you take yourself too serious, then it is what it is. And of course, and I got Gloria. She's right there. And who else do I have up there? And that was Miss Josephine Baker. And I thought it was really poignant to put Miss Bonnie Lou Hammer in, who was also part of the NAACP, because to me she represents the community activists, the women who we don't hear that much about, right? So these women are prevalent in our communities, right? And so when I hear a lot of men talking about acting a certain way as women, our leaders in our community are usually the women. And even when I'm watching the news and I see how many women are outside protesting for men, black men, right? Black Lives Matter, the women just outweigh the men in numbers, outnumber the men. So it's just like, who is behaving? Like, when was that? When was that a choice for us? When was that a reality? And I think this is where it comes back to really doing, even outside of CRT. CRT is not going to teach you to go back and pay attention to all the movies you've looked at, everything, and pay attention. I'm so deep into it. I love watching time pieces. I mean, pieces set back in the day and stuff like that. I like to look around. And then while I'm watching these movies, I am looking around to our living conditions. I'm looking around to what was available to you. I'm looking around to see what was our Black experience outside of what they're trying to show to me on the screen in terms of whatever the plot line is. I'm looking around. So when I'm watching Black exploitation movies, I'm looking around when they're set in New York and it's Harlem and there's nothing but abandoned buildings. I'm getting a sense of what we've been struggling through all these years when they tell us that we should be. You get what I'm saying? I hope you get what I'm saying. So outside of, even if, they taught more history in school, you also have to be purposeful about obtaining the knowledge and how you go about picking some of that up. All right, so I picked Bessie Davis and Queen Latifah for obvious reasons. Like I said, I wanted to go back and pull women that you have to look at what you've been watching and look at history from an abstract sense. And that's what I do. So like for me, abstractly, I'm looking at all these different women, and then I look at what people tell me what feminism is, and I look at their behaviors and how they have just been different and embraced it. I have to say bullshit. We've never been feminine type. It's not even like feminine type. It's like we've never been that Greek goddesses type of woman. We've never been afforded that, right? We've always had to be tough. If it was because just being tough as being our man's backbone, we've always had to be tough women. So I don't know. I think a lot of times when I feel like men try to talk against women who are a little tougher or women who are really self-assured, I think it's about their insecurity, right? Because if it's a man that I'm interested in, I'm dating and all that other stuff, that's not a worry he has. It feels as though it'd be like men in platonic situations that feel more like their insecurities are being bothered by women, right? It doesn't necessarily seem to be like men in relationships, because you literally get into relationships with people who want to get in relationships with you, right? So if as a feminist, if you don't want to get in a relationship with me, I don't want to get in one with you. Like, and that's just not how it works. Like, our political views or the view of me being like, it's like, why would you fear a feminist if you're not. If I feel like for a man to say, "Oh, I wouldn't want to be with a feminist," I think it's literally a man saying, acknowledging the fact that I'm about some fuck shit, and that you probably ain't gonna be able to, you're not gonna be able to take my fuck shit. So I already know that this is not gonna mix. This is oil and water and vinegar, like oil and vinegar. Like, this is not gonna mix, like oil and water. This is not it. And he's absolutely positively right. This is not it. I'm not it. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I don't think that a man with good intentions and, been raised to, treat a woman properly would fear a feminist woman, because it just doesn't personality wise. I've met a lot of feminist women, and I think there's this there's the stereotype that we're all like that. All women aren't one way, right? So I think people see feminists and they just think we're all Jackie Collinses of the world, or we're all outlandishly loud, and we have this desire to whip out plastic penises and shit like that. It feels like men think that, and I don't want to be, as someone who claims her feminism, and a lot of women will be feminists and don't even claim it, and then when you listen to their talking points, you're just like, I'm not doing this today, but it is what it is. If you're just out there doing the good work of saying you're a womanist or whatever it is, and you really standing up for women, I guess, you know what I mean? We don't have to call you a feminist, baby, if that's gonna upset you and get your blood pressure all up and you gonna think it's something bad. We not gonna call you that. We call you womanist, feminist, and whatever else, as long as you do the work. I don't be caring. So all I know is just that I stay away from pick-me-shits and them type of bitches, or them set-up bitches, and them bitches lose their mind over dick bitches. I stay away from them. But if you out there, the rest of the world, if you about protecting women and, whatever you want to label it, I'm with that too. If you think it's something different than what I'm saying, I would love for you to tell me where, because never have I centered my message around F the black man. The black man is the problem for everything. I've never been that girl. I don't even sit in like relationship rooms and stuff like that to do that, right? I'm already 14 minutes and I am just a rambling, but you know what? Because I can't. But let me take this off the screen. But like I said, I most definitely can't wait to get into more of these great women, especially Moms Mabley. Actually, look at that style. Look at Billie Holiday. Look at those earrings. That is all being done right now today. That whole look could be done today. Y'all better stop playing with us and our dopeness. That whole look. Look at her from Baltimore giving you that look. I wish a nigga would. That wish a nigga would look. She is giving it. See, look at them big old arms. Them big old. She could whip some potato salad. Ooh, and some cornbread stuffing. Yes, she can. I would have ate her food every day, all day long. Look at Miss Bessie Davis. Show woman. Because you know how we are when we walk through the room. We fly as fuck. It just is what it is. And I just had to pick, like, to me, this is a great picture, especially with Yo-Yo. And if you know Yo-Yo, and if you've gone back and listened to her, and even just go listen to her unsung, she's been on her Feminist. I don't know what you want to label yours, girl, because I know everybody be like trying to not label their shit, but what it is what it is, right? But if you go back and listen to some of her early stuff, or listen to her interview on Unsung, she tells you, she was like, I was just that girl, you weren't gonna talk to me like that, and my mama raised me, and da-da-da-da. So it's always been in Madam C.J. Walker, what she went through, and how she was an astute businesswoman. I mean, it's out there. I think again, it's looking at things in the abstract. And when you look at women in the abstract of saying, like, when the hell have we ever not been this way? I just want to know. I just want to know. When and why would we be trying to demonize women who are this way when they make such beautiful changing history? Like, I just don't understand that. All right, so let's get back to Miss Gloria. All right. So she passed away Thursday, and this was on July 17th, and we are looking at an article from Essence. Shout out Essence. I can't wait to go to Essence Jazz Festival one year. Okay, so by Malika Jabari, July 17th, 2021. Whoever started the phrase that they weren't that they weren't their ancestors must have missed their history class. So many of our ancestors have shown remarkable courage in the face of violence and hostility in the Jim Crow era and a generation prior. Gloria Richardson was among them. Oh, that's okay. So whoever said the phrase, they ain't their ancestors. A lot of these young kids will say stuff like, "Oh, well, we ain't them. Oh, we ain't like the old people from back in the day," and don't even know who the old people from back in the day is. Like, that be the most that that shit pisses me off. Cause like, who you talking about? What peoples? What peoples? What peoples you talking about? You mean them people in Tulsa? Like, what peoples is you talking about? Like, who? Ashada Shakur? Like, who's you talking about? Who wasn't out here trying to turn shit up? Like, who's you talking about, right? And they don't be having a context, but they just feel like because they're young and they have forever, I guess, you know what I mean? Until you realize you don't. Time, you know what I mean? It catch ups to everybody, but they'll just make slick comments like that. So I think that's what that's about. Gloria Richardson was among them. The civil rights pioneer passed away at 99 years old on Thursday, but her images had become iconic for a new generation of black women and men. Yes, getting into it because, again, it's that pushback on, like, who we been what way? We just now showing up? Like, this behavior is new because we want to, like, it just doesn't even make sense. As AP reports, Richardson was the first woman to lead a prolonged grassroots civil rights movement outside of the Deep South. Her work organizing and leading the Cambridge Movement, Maryland, where she grew up, was historical. But even casual observers of the civil rights movement may be most familiar with this side-eyed photographer captured as she stared down an armed National Guard trying to threaten her. While Miss Richardson coordinated nonviolent sit-ins to desegregate a variety of establishments from restaurants to movie theaters, she veered from the traditional nonviolent civil rights movement. My kind of girl. Okay. My kind of girl, like her. Okay. You know. That's Rosa Parks and them down there. MLK, I'm up here. We a little different. She veered from the traditional nonviolent civil rights movement of the South by supporting black people's right to armed self-defense. The Howard graduate, shout out to Howard, graduate first began her activism on campus. After attending a conference of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee in 1962, she became a member of SNCC's executive board. She led the Cambridge, Maryland Nonviolent Action Committee with more militancy than traditional civil rights leaderships, which made some hostile to her tactics. One example, Richardson refused concession with then Attorney General Robert Kennedy, who wanted to negotiate a right of access to public accommodations. At a press conference, Richardson said, "A first-class citizen does not beg for freedom." I know that's right. Nobody's begging you for anything, right? And so nobody's even like, side note, we talk about begging, like even when you're talking about like our reparations, nobody's asking for a handout. We're just asking for what's owed to us. So, watch our mouths, because nobody's begging for freedom or begging for money. I'm just saying. Where did I leave off at? Beg for freedom. A first-class citizen does not plead to the white power structure to give him something that the whites have no power to give or take away. Okay, you don't have the, okay? Human rights are human rights, not white rights. And that's exactly what it is. I mean, that literally, yes, that's exactly what it is. It's rights. In 1964, which segregationist George Wallace in town to run for president, National Guardsmen had occupied the streets during the demonstration. A photographer captured her now iconic image, epitomizing the boldness with which she had become known. The National Guard ended up gassing I'm sorry, y'all got cotton mouth, and I didn't bring my water. Demonstrators, resulting in the death of one elderly man and infant. Richardson eventually moved to New York, where she continued her activism and lived until her passing on Thursday. Miss Richardson lived a full and remarkable life, leaving behind a lasting image for those who speak truth to power and remain bold in the face of it. Yes, check her out. And I just love stories about women like this, and I will most definitely on this channel, I almost definitely will take time in the middle of talking about hip hop, in the middle of talking about, social issues, in the middle of talking about politics, in the middle of talking about everything. In the middle of talking about everything, I'm going to always throw in this type of stuff. So it just is what it is with me here. It's my homage to the great women that came before me. But I also, like I said, I love Gloria Richardson, but I want them to one day do a movie on, this is one of other people who I find fascinating, Golda Meir, and she became the 4th Prime Minister of Israel in 1973. I'm not going to go too much into it because I can go. She was just a badass woman. And like I said, I think she's another great example of women who, but that emotional thing that people talk about, like I said, I'll give you in relationships, but I just don't see where that transfers over. I'm not even say I give you that in relationships, but I see how in relationships you could think that, but in real life, I just think men are more emotional. I think even as a black woman, talking about violence in the streets and just violence in general, domestic violence, and just seeing men, how they run the country, the world, right? That type of violence, that I just don't think it's the same, and it is a type of emotion, right? But yeah, this is another person. I just think she's great. She's one of the early women who just really, who was really involved, right? Let me see. There was something I've read just a little while ago. Damn. And it was talking about her going to meet. Oh, where it is. I like her line. On May 10th, 1948, this is the other one that I wanted to point out. 4 days before the official establishment of Israel, Meir traveled to Amman, disguised as an Arab woman, so early spy, for a secret meeting with King Abdullah I of Transjordan, at which she urged him not to join the other Arab countries in attacking the Jews. Abdullah asked her not to hurry to proclaim not to hurry to proclaim a state, so not to hurry to make it an Israel state. Meir replied, "We've been waiting for 2,000 years. Is that a hurry?" Is that hurrying? Yes. So she was really instrumental in creating Israel, like to who we know it as today. And I'm not making any infer about right or wrong, anything about like what's going on. I'm just telling you about women in history and how we've shown up, right? So I'm going to always just bring to your attention women and how we've shown up. And even acts, like even we looking at her, where is the feminine women? Where are the women that's not misbehaving? Like our history and history in general just talks about women who are misbehaving. So I don't know. I feel like it's just motivation for me to continue to misbehave in life. That's just how I feel about it. Don't forget to come back. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me what you think. Give me other examples of women that you would want me to talk about. I would love to do that. What do you think about Golden Mare? And of course, your opinions on Gloria. What's her name again? Sorry, Gloria Richardson. I want to know about her. Seems like an amazing woman. Like she was just not about the games. Not about the games. So y'all know how we do it here. We keep it bougie, posh, and all that good stuff. And I'm out.